I changed the locks after my mother-in-law kept entering our house without permission to rearrange things while we were at work. Now my husband is threatening to move back in with her. Some background: my 32F husband, 34M, and I have been married for 5 years, together for 8. We met through mutual friends at a local brewery. I actually spilled my drink on him, and he was so gracious about it that I offered to buy him dinner to make up for it. It was pretty much love at first sight, despite the red flags I probably should have seen regarding his relationship with his mother. When we first started dating, I noticed his mother, 58F, was, let's say, particular about things. She would come to his apartment and rearrange his furniture, reorganize his kitchen cabinets, and even sort his clothes by color and fabric type. My husband, then boyfriend, always brushed it off with "that's just how she is" or "she likes helping." I remember one specific incident where she threw away all his coffee mugs because they weren't from a matching set, and he just laughed it off. The issues became more apparent during our wedding planning. She insisted on being involved in every decision, from the color scheme to the seating arrangements. She even tried to change my wedding dress order behind my back because she thought the one I chose was too modern. Thankfully, the boutique called me to confirm the changes. When I confronted her, she burst into tears and said she just wanted the day to be perfect for her baby boy. My husband said I was being too harsh and that we should just let her help. Last year, we finally bought our dream home. It's not huge, but it's ours, a charming 1940s craftsman with original hardwood floors and built-in bookshelves. I spent months carefully decorating and organizing everything just the way we wanted it. His mother helped us move in, which was nice of her, but then the incident started. It began small. We'd come home from work, and things would be slightly different. The throw pillows would be rearranged, or the spice rack would be reorganized. At first, I thought I was going crazy or misremembering where I'd put things. I even started taking pictures of rooms before leaving for work because I was convinced I was losing my mind. Then one day, I came home early with a migraine and found my mill in our house, completely reorganizing our bedroom closet. She had helpers with her, 2 ladies from her church who were going through my personal clothing items and making comments about my questionable fashion choices. She had a key because my husband had given her one for emergencies. When I confronted her, she said she was just helping and that our organizational system wasn't efficient. She had the audacity to tell me that my clothes were arranged all wrong and that I needed to color coordinate everything and arrange them by sleeve length. When I told her it wasn't okay to enter our house without permission, she acted hurt, saying she was just being a good mother and that I was too sensitive. I talked to my husband about it that night, and he defended her, saying she means well and that's how she shows love. I explained that it felt invasive and disrespectful, but he insisted I was overreacting. He even suggested that maybe I should learn from her since she's been managing a household longer than I have. Over the next few months, it got worse. She started moving furniture around, replacing our decorations with ones she thought were more suitable, and even threw away some of my family photos because they didn't match the aesthetic. She replaced our comfortable modern couch with a formal Victorian-style settee that she found at an antique store, saying our old one was too casual. When I came home to find my home office completely rearranged with my desk facing the wall because facing the window is too distracting, I had a full breakdown. Every time I brought it up to my husband, he'd minimize it or say I was being too hard on her. He suggested that maybe I was too particular about how things should be and that I needed to be more flexible. When I pointed out that his mother was the one being particular, he said that was different because she knows what she's doing. The final straw came last week. I had taken a day off work to prepare for a dinner party with my friends from college who were visiting from out of town. I'd spent the weekend deep cleaning and preparing everything. I had specific plans for a tapas-style dinner with a beautiful tablescape I'd been planning for weeks. When I returned from a quick grocery run, I found her in our house with 2 other women, apparently her friends from church. They were completely rearranging our living room furniture, had taken down all our artwork, including a piece my late father had painted, and were discussing painting an accent wall because the current color was too dark. But worst of all, they had completely dismantled my dining room setup and replaced it with what Mill called a proper formal dinner setting with her own china and crystal glasses. I lost it. I asked her friends to leave and told my Mill that this was absolutely unacceptable. She started crying, saying I was ungrateful and that she was just trying to help make our house presentable, She said my planned dinner party setup was embarrassingly casual, and that she was saving me from social suicide. When I told her my friends weren't coming for a formal dinner, she said, "Well, they should be." I told her to leave and that she was no longer welcome to enter our house without explicit invitation. That night, I changed all the locks. I didn't tell my husband immediately. I know that was wrong, but I was at my breaking point. When he came home and tried to use his key, I had to explain what I'd done. He was furious. He said I had no right to change the locks without consulting him, that I was being cruel to his mother, and that I was trying to drive a wedge between him and his family. The argument escalated, and he ended up staying at his mother's house that night. He came back the next day to get some clothes and told me that unless I apologize to his mother and give her a new key, he's moving back in with her permanently. He says I'm being controlling and that his mother has every right to be involved in our lives. He accused me of trying to isolate him from his family and said I was just jealous of his close relationship with his mother. I'm standing my ground on this, but I'm starting to wonder if I went too far by changing the locks without telling him. My friends say I'm completely justified, but my husband's entire family is blowing up my phone telling me I'm destroying their family and that this is just how they do things. His aunt even called to tell me that in their family, mothers and sons have a special bond and I need to respect that. Edit 1. Thank you all for the overwhelming response. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, we've tried couples counseling before, but my husband stopped going after 3 sessions because he said the therapist was biased against his mother. The therapist had suggested that our marriage needed stronger boundaries with extended family, and my husband stormed out. 2. No, we don't have children yet, but this situation is making me seriously reconsider our family planning timeline. I can't imagine having kids when my MIL feels entitled to rearrange our entire lives whenever she wants. 3. My husband has never lived away from his mother except for college and the time he's lived with me. He lived at home until we moved in together at age 26. Even in college, he went home every weekend. 4. Several people asked about my family's perspective. My parents are both supportive of me but try to stay out of it. My mom says she wished she'd spoken up more about the red flags during wedding planning. Edit 2. Holy crap, this blew up. I'm reading all your comments and crying because finally, people understand. Some of you asked about specific incidents, so here are a few more examples of what I've been dealing with. She rearranged our wedding photos because she said there were too many of just me and my husband, and not enough family shots. She actually took some of our favorite photos out of their frames and replaced them with group shots where she's standing between us. She threw away my grandmother's hand-knitted throw blanket because it was shabby. This was a family heirloom that my grandmother made while going through chemo. I'm still devastated about this loss. She replaced all our everyday dishes with formal china because adults shouldn't eat off stoneware. The china she brought in doesn't even match our style and is so delicate that we're afraid to use it. She reorganized my home office and filed important documents, and I still can't find my passport. When I asked her where she put it, she said I shouldn't worry about that right now. She changed our bed sheets while we were at work because she didn't like the pattern. She replaced our comfortable cotton sheets with scratchy formal linens that she said were more appropriate. She rearranged our kitchen so many times that I can never find anything. She puts everything up so high that I need a step stool to reach basic items. I'm 5 feet 4 inches, she's 5 feet 9 inches. She threw away all my houseplants because she said they were messy and replaced them with artificial ones. She set up a bedroom for my husband in her house just in case and keeps trying to get him to leave things there. Edit 3. To the person who asked about my husband's father, he passed away when my husband was 15. Mil never remarried and my husband is an only child. I know this explains some of the attachment issues, but it doesn't excuse the behavior. My therapist, yes, I have one, has suggested that neither my husband nor his mother properly processed their grief and instead formed an unhealthy codependent relationship. Edit 4. Update. My husband just called. Apparently, his mother told everyone at their church that I assaulted her during our last confrontation, absolutely not true, and that I'm trying to steal her son. She's been telling people that I'm mentally unstable and that she's worried about her son's safety. He's starting to see how she's manipulating the situation, but says he feels trapped between us. I suggested couples counseling again, and this time he agreed to try. I'm cautiously optimistic but also concerned that his mother will try to sabotage it again. Edit 5. Several people ask what happened with my dinner party. I went ahead with it, though not as planned. My friends were incredibly supportive and helped me put everything back the way I wanted it, though we couldn't rehang the artwork properly. One friend who's a lawyer gave me some good advice about documenting everything and suggested I look into a restraining order if things escalate further. Edit 6. To those asking, yes, I've installed security cameras now. They're the kind that send alerts to my phone when there's movement. I also got a video doorbell. My Mill showed up yesterday but left when she realized she couldn't get in. She then called my husband crying about how I'm surveilling her. Final edit. Thank you all for the support and advice. I've scheduled an appointment with a therapist for myself next week, and my husband and I have our first couples counseling session scheduled for next month, earliest available. I'm also documenting everything and have installed security cameras. I know this isn't over, but I feel stronger knowing I'm not crazy for wanting boundaries. For those saying I should just divorce him, I understand where you're coming from, but I want to try everything possible to save our marriage first. That said, I'm also preparing for the worst. I've moved all my important documents to a safe deposit box, opened a separate bank account, and am looking into my legal options, just in case. My friend who's a lawyer helped me put together a file documenting all the incidents, including testimonies from neighbors who've seen her entering our house. The hardest part is that I do love my husband, and when his mother isn't involved, we have a great relationship. He's kind, funny, and supportive in every other way. I just wish he could see how his mother's behavior is destroying our marriage. I'll update if anything significant happens, but for now, I'm focusing on taking care of myself and hopefully working through this with my husband, if he's willing to put in the work. Thank you all for helping me feel less crazy. I wasn't planning on updating again, but so much has happened in the last 2 months that I felt I owed it to everyone who supported me. Looking back at my original post, it's hard to believe how much has changed. First, I want to thank everyone who commented and messaged me. Your support and advice really helped me stay strong through what came next. You were all right, it got worse before it got better. The week after my last update, my Mill escalated things to a whole new level. She went to my workplace and tried to convince my boss that I was having a mental breakdown and needed to be placed on leave for my own good. Thankfully, my boss is a reasonable person who knew about the situation. I kept HR informed just in case. She had security escort Mill out and gave me documentation of the incident for my records. That same day, she sent a mass email to my entire extended family. She had collected their emails from our wedding planning, claiming that I was abusive to her son and had trapped him in marriage through manipulation. She included edited screenshots of text messages between her and my husband that made it look like he was miserable with me. The thing is, she wasn't tech savvy enough to realize that when you edit screenshots, you should make sure the timestamps match up. Several messages she claimed were from last week were dated 2019. This turned out to be the breaking point for my husband. Seeing his mother deliberately trying to destroy not just our marriage but my entire life finally opened his eyes. He moved back home that night and showed me the original messages, which were actually about a work situation he was dealing with, not our marriage at all. We had our first couples counseling session the next day. Our therapist agreed to an emergency appointment given the situation. My husband broke down completely during the session. He admitted that he'd been enabling his mother's behavior his whole life because it was easier than confronting the reality of their unhealthy relationship. The therapist helped him see how his mother had been manipulating him through grief and guilt over his father's death. Things moved quickly after that. With the help of our therapist, my husband wrote his mother a lengthy email establishing firm boundaries. He told her that if she wanted to have any relationship with us moving forward, she would need to 1. Seek individual therapy to work on her grief and attachment issues. 2. Acknowledge and apologize for her violations of our privacy and her lies. 3. Respect our space and our right to make decisions about our own home. 4. Stop trying to interfere in our marriage. 5. Accept that she would not be given a key to our house again. Her response was exactly what you'd expect, a lengthy guilt trip about how we were killing her and how she'd failed as a mother since we were turning against her. She sent flying monkeys, his aunts and her church friends, after us, but this time my husband stood firm. He told every person who called that they were welcome to have whatever relationship they wanted with his mother, but that our boundaries were non-negotiable. Over the next few weeks, We worked with our therapist on strengthening our relationship and communication. My husband started individual therapy to work through his grief over his father and his complicated relationship with his mother. I've continued my own therapy as well. We even attended a workshop for couples dealing with intrusive in-laws, which helped us develop better strategies for handling future conflicts. The biggest surprise came last week. My Mill sister, husband's aunt, reached out to us privately. Apparently, this behavior isn't new. She revealed that Mill had similar issues with husband's father before he passed away, and that the family had been enabling her for decades out of misplaced sympathy over her loss. The aunt apologized for not speaking up sooner and offered to help talk to Mill about getting professional help. As for us, our marriage is actually stronger now. My husband has become much more assertive in maintaining boundaries, not just with his mother but in all aspects of his life. He says he feels like he can finally breathe without worrying about managing his mother's emotions. We've redecorated our house together, choosing everything as a team. He even helped me create a beautiful memorial corner for my grandmother's throw blanket, though his aunt is trying to find photos of it so we can have someone recreate it. Mill has been quiet for the past 2 weeks. We heard through family that she's taking time to reflect at her sister's house a few states away. Whether that means she's actually getting help or just regrouping for another attack, we're prepared. Our security system remains in place, all our important documents are secure, and we have a solid support system now. Looking back, changing those locks was the best decision I could have made. Yes, it caused a crisis, but sometimes you need to break a toxic pattern to fix it. My husband and I are talking about starting a family now, confident that we can provide a healthy environment for our future children. To everyone who told me to document everything, thank you. Having that evidence was crucial in helping my husband see the pattern of behavior. To those who suggested therapy, you were absolutely right. And to those who shared similar stories, your experiences helped me feel less alone and gave me hope that things could get better. I don't know what the future holds with Mill, but I do know that my husband and I are facing it as a united team. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary for any healthy relationship. Thank you all again for your support. I may not update again unless something major happens, but know that your advice and encouragement helped save my marriage and my sanity. P.S. We finally found my passport. It was in a secure location, her safe deposit box, along with some other documents she'd stored for safekeeping. My husband went with her to retrieve everything, and now we have a full inventory of what she took. The fact that she had been systematically collecting our important documents is concerning, but at least we have everything back now.